tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Hey, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all those girl daddies out there, including mine. He is the ultimate girl daddy and my godfather, Artie Jordan. Happy Father's Day to y'all and anybody that's got a daddy, who had a daddy, that is a daddy. Happy Father's Day to you. Oh, my goodness. Hold on. I got stuff going on over here that I needed to put on mute. Hey, okay. So there's that. But happy Father's Day to y'all. And I have a very special show for you today. And I'm not going to waste any more time. But what I am going to say before we get started as we get into the show is that we marked Juneteenth a couple of days ago. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it marks the emancipation of Black Americans from slavery. So it's a very revered holiday. It's a very exciting holiday for Black people in America. It's too bad that our president don't know that, but that's okay. I had to do it, y'all. If you know anything about me, you know I had to do that. But anyway, I wanted to just give a nod to that. But in celebration of Juneteenth, ironically enough, there is a film that was released called Miss Junetenth, and it's directed by Channing Godfrey Peoples. It stars Kendrick Sampson, Nicole Beharie, and Alexis Chikaeze. Now, I will talk about the film after you see this interview. I did a little comp interview with Alexis, Channing, and Nicole because our interviews were hella long. And I really wanted to make sure we had a lot of time for Billy. So I did a compilation of our 3 interviews where we're discussing anything from pageants to hair to Miss Juneteenth to motherhood, Black motherhood, and the Black Lives Matter movement, Texas, all kinds of stuff. So take a look and a listen to my interview with Channing, Nicole, and Alexis from Miss Juneteenth. Miss Channing, I was excited about the film because I had done local preliminaries leading up to Miss America, and I was talking to Nicole and Alexis and telling them that, and Nicole was like, oh no, so you get it. And I was like, yeah, I get it more than you think. I get it. And then Alexis shared a story with me. I know that you are from Fort Worth, Texas, right?
Yes, I am.
So being in Texas, did you ever run for Miss Juneteenth?
No, and I'm clearly nostalgic because here I am making an entire movie about it. But I think for me, I would go to Miss Junetenth in my formative years, and I got such a fondness for, I have such fond memories of seeing all those beautiful young Black women on stage. And when I think about it as an adult, it was confidence building for me. I got to see young women that look like me because you said that you were in the competitions leading up to Miss America, right? I mean, it was my version of Miss America, and it was local, it was community. It was something that I could attain. I grew up in Fort Worth and where we set the film and where we shot it. And it's interesting because Fort Worth is like the 13th largest city in the US, but this specific community in which we shot the film feels like a small town because, it was at once really a burgeoning community for Black folks, like many communities across America, and today it is a remnant of its former self. Once it was like bustling Black businesses, and today it's just the holdovers, just like the bar that you saw. That's an existing location in the community, and the funeral home, and it's also being, gentrified. So, it was important to me to be able to shoot at home and to also be able to represent the community as authentically as possible, just because, I love the folks from the community so much, and they're the ones that inspired this film.
A lot of beauty queens that I competed with, once they win those pageants, you don't hear anything else from them. And I almost feel like beauty queens are like that quote from A Raisin in the Sun, a dream deferred is like a raisin in the sun. Do you feel like Turquoise, that was probably the lane that Turquoise was living in? Because it felt like people said to her on more than one occasion, we were expecting such great things from you.
Yeah, I think A Dream Deferred is a really good theme for this whole movie. And maybe even for the times that we're in, to be completely honest. There's a certain promise in youth, and the way that women survive is something that's brought up from Turquoise's mom. Just being beautiful is enough if you know how to use it. She says something to that context. And we see that Turquoise kind of balks at that idea, but at the same time continues to put her daughter in and through the process of the pageant, but is also seeking something else. I feel like for those women that you said are like beauty queen women, and then that period is over, my interest is in the people that are discarded after their use-by date is gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our culture is definitely youth-centric. And I definitely even felt that playing the mom to a teenage girl, like being the mom, the nagging, annoying, pestering, well-meaning mom, and like the future is in front of me with all this beauty and promise, and you kind of place it all into the future rather than realizing that you still have worth, which is kind of what you're saying. There's still a lot to be done, and we're in a different time. There are women out here that are working well into their 70s and 80s, having life transitions in their 50s. My mother got her doctorate when she was 52.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I watched my mother graduate from college.
Yeah. Oh, wow, awesome.
That was very impactful upon me.
Exactly what this is about, though. There's more. Just because people are like, your time is over, you lost your window. It's like, no, I don't receive that. I rebuke that.
I know that's right, Miss Nicole. I rebuke that too, girl, in the name of. Turquoise has grown up in this situation where her mother has issues. And a lot of times when people have parents like that, it dictates our past and our present and carries over and bleeds into our future. You and I, our circumstances were very different. We watched our moms accomplish some amazing things. For someone that is a turquoise, how do they not let their past and present dictate their future?
Oh, man. I think that's the conversation of the movie. That's like the question. I can't prescribe myself, but I think that's what we're actually watching her move through. That's the question that she's trying to figure out, because it feels a little bit like she has been up until this point, allowing the past to dictate her current reality and potentially the future.
Do you think that the Black Lives Matter movement or all Black Lives Matter movement is going to have a significant impact on whether or not our country and our government recognizes Juneteenth as a holiday moving forward? Because they haven't up until this point. You know, and Black people literally are like, I'm tired of celebrating July 4th. Like, I'm gonna need y'all to recognize Juneteenth.
Most definitely. And which is very true, because July 4th, we weren't free. I don't think they teach us that part. They teach us, oh, freedom came for who though? Because it wasn't for Black people. So I definitely believe that, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement, the All Black Lives Matter movement we're in a different time. We're in a different climate. Things are different. People are tired. We're in a pandemic fighting for our human right to live. We were kids. We didn't really understand. We didn't put two and two together when him and Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown were killed. But now that we're older, we got to do something about it. And we're just as tired. These are our lives on the line at the end of the day. And the climate that we're in is hot. It's very hot. And I do just feel like the time that we're in is a different time. I just feel as though things are changing. It's going to take us continuing to speak up about stuff, no matter how big or small our platforms are. A platform is a platform. I may not have the biggest platform yet, but I'm still going to talk about it, because at the end of the day, if I sit and be silent and, you know, I'm complicit because these things affect me. Black people are subjected to microaggression. They're subjected to violence, murder in cases, you know. So if I sit back and act like it doesn't affect me when it affects me and the rest of my family who are also Black, that would be, you know, ignorant. And so I take it and I run with it. We all have a part to play, and it's our duty to speak up about it, speak against injustices that Black people face on a day-to-day basis.
What do you say to your white friends that reach out, the ones that do reach out to you and say, how can I help? Help me understand. What can I do?
The resources are out there. It's a matter of, are you willing to find them? That's the most important thing, because I know, of course, some don't realize their privilege. Some don't realize that they don't have to go through everything that we go through on a daily basis. So on my part, as I was saying, that my platform, if I can get it to the little people that I know, here's this link, where to donate, where to sign petitions, whatever you can do. You can play a YouTube video that will donate money to it, even if you don't have money to donate. There are things out there, there's resources, but it's a matter of using my platform to say, hey, this is what you can do. Voting wise, it starts in our communities. We just can't say, oh, the president do this. It starts right where we are, because it's happening everywhere we are. So I've shared links. Hey, you guys, people in Texas, go out and vote. Our preliminaries are at this, and this date. Go to this website. Doing everything on my end that I can to reach out to the people around me. And if I reach out to them, hopefully they take it and they spread it to their friends, spread it to their family. It's a chain reaction, but I have to be willing to do my part so that other people can do theirs too, or it can encourage people to do theirs as well.
You guys, let me just say thank you and a big applause and big ups to my girls, Channing, Nicole, and Alexis. These are three women that are doing it. And let me not be remiss in saying that this was Channing's directorial debut. It's so sad that we're in the middle of a pandemic and she couldn't have a really big, splashy premiere, but she did have a nice plethora of a premiere at the Sundance Film Festival when the film showed there, and it showed and screened to thunderous applause and massively good notices. So let me just give Nicole her flowers, while not Nicole, well, Nicole too, but give Channing her flowers while she's here. Channing does a wonderful job with capturing this small town in Texas. I mean, every single little tiny aspect of it. It's absolutely beautiful. But what she does most and what touched my heart most is not only did she give an homage to those pageant girls, those beauty queens, the ones that win a pageant and they are all the rage. And then you come back to them 10, 20 years later, nobody knows who they are, where they are, what they did with their life. And oftentimes their lives do not turn out to be as fantabulous as everybody thinks it's going to be for a variety of different reasons. And most of the time due to no fault of their own. And that's what happens with Turquoise and Miss Junetenth. What I also want to say about Miss Juneteenth is that this is a very strong film that shows Black women in all their glory, in all their strengths, in all different types of facets from three completely different generations. We see the mom, we see the daughter, we see the granddaughter, all having a completely different set of issues, all grappling with them emotionally and physically in the best way that they know how. But at the end of the day, it turns out all right. And I don't want to spoil it for you because it's a feel good film and it dropped at the right time with the right message for the right audience. So you can find Miss Juneteenth streaming anywhere right now: Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Hulu, anybody that is streaming video on demand, you will be able to find Miss Juneteenth there. So thank you again, ladies, for allowing me to talk to you and giving me such really good things to be able to showcase on the interview today. The AFI Docs Festival is a festival that I usually go to in Washington, D.C. every year. And I love documentaries. I've said that on this show numerous times. And I love documentaries because they inform and they educate and oftentimes teach me individually something that I don't or didn't get to learn when I was in school. Is going on right now online. If you go to AFIDocs.com, you can see all of you can see the Q&A interviews. You can see some of the films that are still streaming there. Some of them that are still streaming, I'm going to address here. But the ones that I loved so far, and you can find all of the reviews up on my site as usual at thecurvyfilmcritic.com. But the series of films that I spent most of my time watching was a series of films called The Cinema Legacy and Women and the Vote. And because we are in an election year, and because I feel personally that it's really important for women to get out and vote, I paid special attention to those particular films. One of them was called Sisters of 77. So earlier this year, there was a docuseries that streamed on Hulu called Mrs. America, and it follows the fight of the fight against the ERA by a woman that, ironically enough, is from my home state, Missouri, Phyllis Schlafly. And Phyllis was a homemaker who felt like women having rights, women being independent, women having jobs, women getting uh, education, anything that allowed a woman to be independent and stand on their own 2 feet without the aid or assistance of a man. Phyllis was not having it. So Mrs. America dealt with that from a fictional television docuseries point of view. Sisters of 77 shows it in real time. It shows the women's convention, shows how it all went down, how everybody felt, how everybody thought, how everybody got involved in it. And it even shows footage of a young Barbara Jordan, who was a congresswoman from Texas, and a really young Maxine Waters. So if you are listening in from California and you know who Auntie Maxine is, there's a Auntie Maxine and Sisters of 77 that looks like she's 12 years old. So she's been in the game for a minute. But I highly suggest watching that. If you do not catch it at the AFI Docs Film Festival online this weekend, please, please, please put an alert in your phone, on your computer, or wherever you can put it to make sure that you are alerted to be able to see it at some point, because it really is riveting. Another film that I saw was called First Vote, and this dealt with the vote from the Asian perspective. It dealt with the fact that Asian Americans who come to this country become citizens and are able to vote for the first time. In this particular documentary, these particular Asian citizens, most of them casted their first vote in the 2016 election. You have Asians that are conservative, you have some that are liberal, you have some that are running for office that are conservative. Like there's one chick that's her name, I can't remember her name right now, but she literally is taking pictures with semi-automatics and rifles. I was like, well, okay then. But it's riveting to see that vantage point and hear that story from somebody that isn't Black, that isn't Latino, that isn't white. And oftentimes in this country, Asians, I remember growing up, if there was a box that you had to check to say who you were, it would say Black, white, and other. And oftentimes Asian Americans in this country for the longest time were treated as other. That is no longer the case, and it's getting better, as is the treatment of other ethnicities in this country, like African Americans, Latinos, Asian, Islander, Pacific, so on and so forth. And it also sheds light on the fact that Asian doesn't just mean Chinese or Japanese. There's Chinese, Japanese, American, Asian American, Pacific Islander. There is Filipino, there's Korean, there's all different types of Asian nationalities. And so we should be aware of that, and we should know that and not be so ignorant to that. So that is called First Vote. Another one that I saw was called And She Could Be Next. And it literally is kind of, it reminded me a lot of Knock Down the House, which I reviewed here on the Curvy Critic not too long ago. It talks a lot about these women, Stacey Abrams from Georgia, Lucy McBath from Georgia, Maria Elena Durazo from Sacramento, California, Bushra Amawala, and Veronica Escobar from El Paso, Texas. They all ran for the first time ever for seats in Congress and the Senate, and most of them won. It's fascinating to watch that journey, and it shows that women are smart. Women are capable. Women can run a political campaign like the best of them, and sometimes better than some of these dudes out here doing it. And not for nothing, but I don't know about y'all, I'm tired of seeing middle-aged white dudes in office. Let's get a breath of fresh air. That's why the country is where it is right now. Let's get a breath of fresh air going. And for those of you that want to find a way to be involved, if you're a caretaker like me, like I am for my mom, I became involved with Color of Change. Go to colorofchange.org. I have meetings with them twice a week and do grassroots activism on the ground in my house from my computer and my phone. I work with Emily's List. I do the same thing with them. And I have a meeting with my local congressional leaders, legislators in my home state of Missouri to see how I can get some grassroots, activism and mobilizing for voting in my home state there. So just because you're at home and you can't go out with a sign and protest in the streets with the millions of people that are doing it around the world shouldn't stop you from doing your thing. 2020 is an election year. November is coming sooner than you think. Mobilize and get it together as soon as you possibly can. I saw a symposium that is usually done and promoted by the Guggenheim, organization. This year they honored Lee Grant. For those of you not familiar with Lee Grant is a four-time Oscar nominated actress, documentary director. She won for her role in Shampoo and for a documentary that she directed called Down and Out in America. So you can catch that at AFIDocs.com as well. They're airing right now a documentary called Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. I can't wait to see that. I'll be watching that right after this. And the last two I want to talk about is Dilemma of Desire, which talks about this, which I love that there was a documentary that talked about this. So when we think about sex, when we learn about sex in sex education in school, especially when I was growing up, we usually learn it from a male point of view. Like we can tell you everything a male's anatomy can do, what it should do, how you should deal with it, yada, yada, yada. But no one ever talks about, the female equipment and what that is. And women are usually shamed for thinking about it, talking about it, using the word that's associated with it, which I'm not going to say here, but you're going to look it up. But what I am going to say is there's a whole documentary about it called The Dilemma of Desire. And it focuses on a plethora of women who range anywhere from artists to exotic dancers. And it talks about the women's anatomy and that there's 100 laws associated with that. Yes, there are 100 laws associated with that. And it's written by Sophia Wallace. So check that out. And last but not least, a film called The Letter. Now, all of us have grandparents, all of us have elders. I know in the African American community, we revere our elders. We respect our older people in our older generation. We deem them in the highest esteem. But in Kenya, there's some elder abuse going on where they are accusing elders of being witchcraft, and they're actually killing older people over in Kenya. So the letter deals with this one man from Kenya who gets a letter saying that his grandmother is engaging in some witchcraft, and he comes back home to see what the situation is. He interviews some family members and some friends and things to find out what the deal is, and finds out that some family members are trying to set his grandmother up to get murdered. So it's a deep little film, but it's engaging. It is streaming on AFI Docs right now. So again, you guys, check out the AFI, American Film Institute Documentary Film Festival at AFIDocs.com. Now, let me just give you a proper intro to my boy. Billy Porter and I met in New York City when he was in Miss Saigon as an understudy for Hinton Battle. I wasn't in a Broadway show yet, but he was. And he had just come off of Star Search. I think he was like the male singer winner on Star Search at the time. But we met then, and we've been friends ever since. And it's been a 20-year friendship that I cherish dearly. We don't always speak all the time. We don't always get a chance to talk because our lives respectively are very busy and very hectic. But we did catch up and talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. We talked about that Supreme Court ruling that just went down, and we talk about some other things. So without further ado, here is my good friend, my love, Tony Award and Emmy Award winning actor, Billy Porter. It's good to see you, boo.
It's good to see you too. I like your background. It's very nice.
Thank you so much.
All of your Broadway shows.
Well, not all of them, child, but there's only so much wall in a house.
I love it. Not all of them, darling. Because there have been many. I don't see the one we did together up there yet.
Smokey Joe's, it's on the other side of the room.
Other wall?
It's on the other wall. But I'm so happy to talk to you. I really am.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe I've been trying to make this happen for a minute.
I know, it's taken a while. I apologize.
Look, you a busy black man. Look, you a busy black man in Hollywood. I am not mad at you.
A busy black gay man in Hollywood.
Boom. And there's that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Baby, the Supreme Court just made an addendum to that 1964 Civil Rights Act, making it about sexual orientation and gender equality. How are you feeling about that? Because, it's one thing to be a black man in this society with all of that, with all of what that comes with, but it's a very different thing and an even bigger thing to be Black and gay and have this kind of legislation passed in your lifetime. How are you feeling about that?
Well, it feels really good. You know, it feels long overdue. We've been working and fighting for it for a really long time. I find it weird still to this day as a Black man and as a gay man that like, it's just normal that our rights are up for legislation. It's just normal. That's just everyday life. It's very strange to me. You know, this construct that America is built on, you know, the backs of slaves, stealing a country from people who were already here, and then making rules that exclude people from rights. It's just strange to me. So it's like, yes, I'm happy about it, that it's sort of landed in our favor, but the conversation for me is like, why is this even a conversation? Why do I even have to have a conversation about getting fired simply for being who I am? Like, it's weird. It's just weird.
I know.
You know, it's frustrating. It's weird. It's just the way life is. I'm working on my radical acceptance and compassion about that so that I can sort of have some sort of peace in this lifetime. You know, just how human nature is so programmed to other something.
It's so odd. It's so odd. And I don't know about you, but the whole Black Lives Matter thing, it's necessary, right? It's necessary. It needs to happen. It's extremely long overdue because, you know, as Black people, we just tired. We're tired of conforming. We're tired of acting like it didn't happen. We're just exhausted and tired and sick and tired of being tired. But for someone like you, you're in an interracial relationship. So I'm wondering what that feels like for you in your household. Is there tension? Is there a different kind of conversation going on?
Yeah, there is a different conversation. There is a different conversation going on because this moment really requires all of us on all sides to dig into the deepest, most hurtful parts of ourselves, most hurt parts. You know, I did a post about a week or two ago, my message to America, and I talked about, you know, we've been out here in Long Island, and we were meeting friends at this place called the Hog Farm, which was a farm, and you know, just being in a place that doesn't feel like feels like private property.
Yep.
You know,
I do know.
I don't know what this is. I'm sitting there in my car. There's a barn structure with no walls. A bunch of stuff is in there. I don't see nobody else. A little white girl comes running out. She sees me and my husband in the car, and then she runs back, and I just panic, and I just leave. You know, and it was like, when we came back and our friends were there and we went on the trail, you know, I made light of it because that's what we do.
Exactly.
We make light of it to make everybody else feel comfortable, you know, and it wasn't until I used that story as an example of what it's like for me every day that those same people were like, oh my God, oh my God. It's like, yeah, it's that. Every day, something as simple as meeting my friends to walk on a trail can cause that much trauma.
I know. I was trying to, this makes me so emotional. So,
Please.
Forgive me.
It's very emotional.
I was trying to explain to someone that every time we have to, as Black people, every time we have to explain a story like you just did, it's like reliving a trauma over and over and over and over and over again. And I don't want to do that every day, all day long with people I don't know. I just don't want to do it.
No.
I don't want to do it with people that I do know. And so I definitely don't want to do it with people that I don't know. And it's upsetting. And I find myself, and I don't know if this is the same for you, but I find myself grappling and struggling with those friends that I know they mean well. I know their heart is in the right place. I do. But when they ask me, what can I do? What can I say? Help me understand. I'm like, you will never understand what it's like to be in my skin. You won't. You
And that's
won't
okay.
ever know what it feels like to have a woman clutch her purse. You won't ever know what it feels like to have a plainclothes detective follow you around the store. You just don't know what that feels. Child, let me get off my soapbox and finish on with my interview, because we'll be here all day, and I know you got another interview to do, but
it's every day. You know, I was out here doing a photo shoot for Essence magazine, and we were in the middle of the street, standing in front of, you know, a driveway, because there was this driveway that looked really good, and a car came out, and I realized, oh, this might be a little awkward. I'm standing in front of this woman's property, or this person's property. So I literally engaged, and I was like, hi, how are you? She glared at me, said no words, drove down the street, waited there for like 3 minutes while we continued to, and then 5 minutes later, the police came. And I said, this is what we're talking about. The only thing that was acceptable in that moment for that woman to do was to say, hey, what's going on here? And then we would have had the conversation. You don't even think that I'm not even worth a conversation. This is what we're talking about. It's like, because in the moment I was like, oh, this might look weird, you know, but then she says to the police officers, oh, well, I was just confused because there's a lot of people with masks on and costumes. First of all, the world is wearing
a mask. Hello.
And the world is wearing a mask. You saw Black people wearing a mask in your white neighborhood. That's what you saw.
That part right there.
That's the part that you saw.
I cannot.
You know, and I think now it's great. What's great about this moment is that that's what we get to call out in every instance. That is what the George Floyd moment has done for us. Because my concern through the last few years with social media and reality television is that I thought we were so desensitized to the images, to the tools from the civil rights movement. They used the media from the AIDS crisis, activist, LGBTQ activist movement. It was the media, how they manipulated the media to shed a light on what was going on. I thought we lost that because for years we were looking at these images and nothing was happening. And George Floyd brought it back.
Well, it's happening now, and I'm glad it's happening. Child, I need to get one more question because I know your publicist, you got someplace to go. But let me just give you your flowers while I got you on the line. Congratulations on your Emmy. Congratulations on your Tony. Congratulations on your 7 Elliott Norton Awards in Boston with you winning Outstanding Musical Production, and Annalisa, I think Velez won for Outstanding Actress back in May. Congratulations on that.
I won for Director.
You did win for Director? I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. So congratulations on that. I know you were nominated. I couldn't find whether or not you won, but congratulations on all of that. Congratulations on your singles for what is your songs for what it's worth, Finally Ready, for working with Michelle Obama, your self-quarantine survival guide, your 2020 Pride Home guide. I mean, and you had a little contest online on IG for the kids to slay in quarantine. I love all of that. But having said all of that, because I know we can't talk about all of that, the one thing I do want to talk to you about is this was the first time in history the Tony Awards got canceled. And as a Tony winner, what are your thoughts about that happening? And what do you think that means for live theater moving post-COVID-19?
Well, first and foremost, it was very disappointing because I was supposed to host it.
Oh, wow.
Nobody knew that. It never got to that place. It never got to the announcement because we were in lockdown before the announcement. But Cynthia Erivo and myself were supposed to host this year.
Oh, wow.
So that was very disappointing, but that can happen. The thing that's difficult for me, I went into Manhattan for the first time since March. a couple of Fridays ago for some doctor's appointments. And, as you know, being a Broadway girl, the show must go on means that the show goes on. And for the first time in history, I'm walking around Broadway and the show is not going on.
No, it's not.
It is devastating. It's devastating. It's eerie. It's apocalyptic. It's like, we're in some new, deep shit. We really are, and I think the greatest part about it is that humanity is rising to the call. It makes me sad that it has to get to the tipping point all the time for anything to get done. Like, I wish that we could do this kind of work, the kind of work that we're getting done right now with people in the streets every day. I wish we could get that kind of work done just regularly, but it just doesn't happen like that. It just doesn't happen. Historically, nothing gets done until the people get in the streets. And the people are in the streets and we're not going anywhere. And that's the good thing. Because I feel like, piggybacking on what I had said earlier about, the media, being reignited with that 8 minutes and 43 seconds of that man's knee on that man's neck. And finally, the world was able to see. It's like, this is what we're talking about. He got his hands in his pockets. He don't give a fuck. He's gonna do it because he knows there are no consequences for it. He's white, that man is black, and he can murder him in cold blood while the cameras are rolling. And ain't nothing you N-words can do about it. That's where we are.
Yeah.
That is where we are. That is where we have always been. I say it all the time. We are not now, nor have we ever been better than this. We haven't been. We tried.
Pastor Porter.
We tried.
Preach, Pastor Porter.
Don't get me wrong. We try, but we're not. So stop saying it until we are.
Baby.
Stop saying it.
Look, and I'm right there with you. You know that I am in solidarity, support, all of that.
And with the black people too, my last thing with the black people too, because they tried to come for me for calling them out in my message about the black people's relationship to the LGBTQ community and the fact that black trans women are dying at the hands of black cisgendered men. I said it and I mean it. Get your houses in order. Get your houses in order. I am aligning white supremacy and how we're treated with the way you're treating the transgender community. I am. And until we get our houses in order, we can't expect anybody else to do it.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely
Period.
Right. Absolutely right. Baby,
stop killing us, and maybe somebody might stop killing us.
Okay. That part, I know. We literally could have this conversation all day because you and me, we can go there. We can go
We go back.
Because we go way back. We go back to
the 90s.
We go back to Moki Joe's. We go back to the Broadway. But baby, I'm so glad that I was finally able to connect with you.
I know, me too.
I'm about to cry. I'm about to cry. I'm so happy that you carved out time for me because I know how difficult it was. I know how busy you are. I know I worried your publicist to death. I know they were sick of my little black ass.
No, they weren't. I said, we got to get Carla on. We got to get Carla there. Just figure it out and get her on the schedule. Wherever it is, whenever we can fit her in, get it in the schedule because you're my girl.
And you my boo. I love you. Hopefully the next time we can kiki a little bit more.
Yes.
Maybe we can sing a little something. And I'm a little salty that you had fabulous glasses for everybody but me. I'm just saying. Fabulous glasses for everybody but me. Yes, I'm calling your ass out for that.
I have fabulous glasses for conversations that aren't serious. When the
Oh, okay.
conversations are serious,
All right.
I read my thing. You said we were talking about the
You're
movement
right.
and COVID-19.
You're right.
So
You're
I don't
right.
want to distract from the conversation.
You're right. So I didn't call it out myself. All right, Billy.
I love you.
I love you so much. And hopefully we can connect and just have a nice casual conversation sometime real soon.
Very soon when we can come out of lockdown.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, baby.
Love you.
Love you too.
Billy Portier. I call him Billy Portier because that's my dog. I'm going to tell y'all this real quick story before I close out. When we were on Broadway together, I had this moment where, for lack of a better way to say it, I was being bullied in this show that I was in. And I was having a moment. I was standing on the corner. Billy came out of the stage door, saw me standing on the corner having a moment, and was like, "What's wrong?" I told him what was wrong. And then he literally he was like, "Look, take a cab home. Do you? And the next day when I came to work, him and one of my other cast members had brought me something to cheer me up and make me feel better. And I was having issues with this one song. I couldn't quite sing it the way they needed me to sing it because it wasn't really in my wheelhouse of genres. And Billy would take me to his apartment in between shows and work with me on this song. So I just want to say again that how much I appreciate him, how much I love him, and how much gratitude I have for him being a voice in the LGBTQ community, in the African American community, and for being my friend. So thank you again, Billy. So I have on this shirt that's from chicnewyork.com, and it says that I'm confident, beautiful, smart, strong, gifted, and I'm a love queen. So with that, I'm going to close this out. It's been my pleasure to come here and enlighten and educate and entertain all at the same time. I love doing what I do. I love talking to y'all. I love bringing you some shows that, sometimes it's more on the light and fluffy side and sometimes it's not, but you got to have balance in life, right? So until next week, when I'm going to have a sneak peek of some interviews that I have with Hamilton original cast members Leslie Odom Jr., Christopher Jackson, and hopefully, finally, I'll be able to have my girlfriend LaChance and her daughter Celia Rose. They are Antonio winners, respectively, for I forget what shows that I know that Celia won for Jagged Little Pill, one of the shows that got snatched off of Broadway when the virus hit. But she'll be back and she'll be making a splash even bigger when it opens up again. But that's what's coming up. I wanted to say thank you again for everyone that tuned in. Michael B, Brandon, y'all are my boos. Thank you for being in that chat room every weekend, religiously, regardless of what's going on in the world and in my life and yours. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And stay safe, stay sane, keep watching, keep washing those hands, y'all. We still in the middle of a pandemic. And take care of yourselves. And I will see you next week with a whole brand new show. Until the next time, love, peace, and hair grease. Bye.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content. And be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.